In this tutorial we are going to explore the methods we can use to create custom flaps using the freeform tools. We will learn how to identify a point in its current position, how to add a new point, how to drag points to a new location, how to curve a line and set it to be tangent to the previous or next point, how to open or close a machine step, and how to use the Mirror Complete Machine Step option. If you're ready, let's get started.
To begin this tutorial, I've created just a main section here. I'll double click on it, and then I've already added a import flap from the flap library, and it's a dust flap. Now I've also edited this flap by going to this button here and clicking on it. And you can see how I edited this flap. The idea of this tutorial is to make a flap that looks like this one, but without importing it. And so if you like to find out more about the import library flaps, there's another video on that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give me another flap on this side, and I'm going to right click in that line, just a basic flap, and I'm going to set it to be 180 using my precision input. And so I'm going to reference off of this one on this side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this point here, and this is the point of origin for this flap in the local coordinate system. And if we look at over here in our active point, we can see that this is set at 0 in the X direction and 0 in the Y direction, and it is locked to the left and locked to the bottom. So that's its stretch mode, and that's where the points are locked. So as I go around the flap, this would be number 2, and you can also see this down here, PT2 underscore border, and that shows you that we're on the border flap, which is also over in the active point. It says border index 2, and then we have 3 and 4. And now you notice down here in the bottom right corner where it says 0.4, there's a plus sign on it, and that means that there's another point in that same location. And so if I click on this again, now we can see that we have the fold line, and that's the fold line point. The reason why I'm showing this is because it's important to know that when we move these points, we need to know which one it is that we're moving. Another thing that I wanted to show you before we move on is that in the case where you have machine steps that might be on top of each other, you can always hide a machine step to get it out of the way. So to do that, we'll go over here to our machine step again. We got this one selected, and notice that this is on the index number 2 of the fold line. If we go to this one, we first select the border, but see the plus sign is there, so I'm going to click on it again so that the fold line is selected, and then if I right click on it and go at machine step and then hide machine step, that fold line is gone, and you can see there's the points are grayed out over here because those points are gone. You can't see them, and now you can see only the border line. And in order to bring that machine step back, you just click on a point, right click, and go down to the bottom here where it says unhide machine steps, and we got our machine step back, and we're ready to move on with going ahead and continuing our flap design. We're going to make a dust flap from scratch, so I'm going to start by going to point number 2, and I'm going to right click on it and hit the G so that I can drag it, and I'm going to hold down the shift key and drag this point to a location that looks similar to the other side. Then I'm going to get this point over here, right click on it, hit the G hotkey, and I'm going to drag it over here. So there's actually several ways to move these points around, and I'll just show you real quick what you can do. One is to drag it like I've already showed you, just freehand. Another way is to go to the active point and change the X and Y coordinates right here of the current point. And so we can also right click on the point, hit G for the shortcut key, and then hit period, and this will open up our precision input, showing the exact position of it. Now you'll notice these dimensions seem odd, and that's because they're global dimensions. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on this little globe here, which will bring it into the local coordinates of this flap. So I can move it here. And still another way, and I just cancel this, still another way that I can move it is by going to the grid points. And so I can go down here and turn on the grid points. Then if I right click on this button, it'll bring up my grid spacing and show you what that is. It's set for 5 millimeters now, but I'll just leave it there. And so now that I have it, I can zoom in and you can see a little bit better the grid spaces. And now if I move the point around, it'll snap to those different grid points, and you can actually see that as I drag it, it'll snap, and if you look down at the active point, you can see the dimensions even change there. You can get more accurate like that. So I'll turn that off for now, and I'm going to go back to where I was at. And so now the next thing that we want to do is drag this point here, and we're going to drag it over. I'll just click on the drag, and we want this one to be somewhere around here. Now I'll zoom in on this a little bit so we can see, but you'll notice something here. This flap, or this machine step, is closed, and I'm going to right click on this point, and at machine step I'm going to click on the open/close machine step. By doing that, I've opened this machine step and created a just a single line. And so now I've run out of points that I can use to create this step that I want. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click, and I'm going to add a point after. That's my A, and I'm going to bring this point over to about here. So click at machine step, and then what I want to do is I want to do a mirror complete machine step. So when I click on that, it's going to go ahead and draw the other half of the machine step just like the first half. So it's a mirror image of it. Now the only thing left to do is to radius these corners so that they'll be radius like these are here. And to do that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to click on this line here, right click, and at line I'm going to curve line, and I'll hit the period key, and then I want to set this one to be tangent to the previous. And so when I do that, I get a nice curve tangent to this point here. So what I'm going to go to this line again, at line, curve line, and then I'm going to hit the period key again. This time I'll go tangent to next. And so now I have a flap that is very similar to that one, but I didn't use this created using the freeform. And if we go into the 2D, and we can see this looks pretty much the same on both sides. So there you go, that's the way you do it.